All right, and we back on the forecast. Now, we as a collective have to get over this fear of white supremacy. And all the brutality we've seen over hundreds of years does cause trauma. With our own, we have no problem attacking them or taking the most extreme action possible. But with white supremacy, all we do is march and protest and hope for a change. Far too many of us just don't want no trouble. But we didn't start it. But we know if something happens, they'll be quick to get on code and have each other's backs. And we don't have a choice but to learn how to do the same thing. But instead, we want to pray a change into them. We try to talk to them and convince them instead of talk to ourselves and convince ourselves of what we truly deserve. In 1843, at the National Negro Convention, a black think tank discussing the black situation in America, the brother Henry Highland Garnett gave his most famous speech, a call to rebellion. He said instead of trying to convince or sway whites to change their hearts and grow a conscience and give us justice, he encouraged black people to gain their freedom by uprising against their slave owners. He said neither God nor the angels or any just man would command you to suffer for a single moment. Therefore, it is our duty to fight using every means, moral, intellectual, and physical, that would lead to success. Now, mind you, he wasn't even necessarily calling for killing anybody, but more so of a boycott. But many were shocked and called him extreme, including Frederick Douglass, who gave his own speech to condemn Henry Highland Garnett's speech. And the people at the convention ended up voting against Henry Highland Garnett. Far too many of us just want to be welcomed and accepted by white America, hoping something will happen that will make this a just society. But something built on murder and destruction can produce love and peace. And it's been beaten into us to love and forgive everybody but our own. In St. Charles, Missouri, a brother Jaylen Walker was shot by a white man in the back over a parking spot. So let's see what led this brother Jaylen Walker to get shot in the back.
An Amazon delivery driver shot after a fight over a parking spot. And today, prosecutors charged the shooter.
And tonight we're hearing from the man whose life has changed forever. Doctors say he will likely never walk again. He spoke to our Casey Nolan.
21 years old, 2 jobs, and a 1-year-old son. Jaylen Walker was always on the go. Right now, this is about the only way he can move.
What about do for some pain medicine?
I'd be paralyzed for the rest of my life. There was so many things I had. I'm a personal trainer. I wanted to go back to school, play college basketball. Walker, play with my son.
Tuesday, Walker says he had just finished his shift as an Amazon delivery driver when he stopped in this St. Charles Target parking lot to help a fellow driver. He admits he parked in a disabled parking spot. What happened next, he and his family can't understand. Prosecutors say 65-year-old Larry Thomlison confronted Walker.
A guy approached me and asked me why the hell I parked my van in a handicap spot. And I told him, look, I'm gonna move it. And he just kept harassing me.
Walker says Thomlison punched him and he fought back.
But when he pulled the gun out, my eyes were just amazed. And I tried to run in between 2 cars. He had a nice aim and hit me right in my spine.
Prosecutors say surveillance video shows Walker trying to run away when he was shot in the back, paralyzing him from the stomach down. Wednesday, they charged Thomlison with first-degree assault and armed criminal action. They say Thomlison knows guns and should have known better.
He's been through the St. Charles Citizens Police Academy not once but twice. He has his concealed carry permit. So he knows when he's authorized and when he's not authorized to discharge a weapon.
While his future is now uncertain, Walker says he's already trying to move forward.
I forgive that man. I forget what he had done. And I just have to move on. Justice will be served. I just didn't want to die with that on my heart.
Walker's family tells me even though he was working those 2 jobs, he does not have insurance. They have gotten some response to a GoFundMe they've set up for him to help pay for his medical bills, and we've linked to that story on our Facebook page.
And he admits he made a mistake by parking in that spot.
Absolutely. And his mother says, hey, he deserved a parking ticket, not this.
Now, this brother Jaylen Walker, who was a delivery driver for Amazon, literally at work, and he stopped at Target to help another delivery driver, and he parked in a handicap space so he could run in and deliver a package. And when he came out, a white guy, Larry Thomlison, who was mad because he parked in a handicap spot even though there were other spots available, called himself confronting him about it. And the brother even said he apologized. He said he'll move, but it wasn't good enough. He had his phone all in his face trying to record him. So the brother pushed him back and pushed the phone out his face. Then the brother Jaylen Walker said the white dude punched him in the face, so he punched him back. And then they started fighting. Of course the brother was getting the upper hand while they were tussling on the ground. Then the brother Jaylen Walker saw this dude had a gun on his hip. Now understand, they aren't really going to try you in a fair one. If they try you, it's either because they have a lot of backup or they have a weapon. So this brother who was unarmed, mind you, he was at work, started to run away. And he said when he turned to look back, he saw him fumbling with his gun. And then as he started to turn the corner, he shot him and it hit him in the back. It hit this brother in the spine, and the doctor said it's in the spot where he can't get to it. And the doctor said this brother's going to be paralyzed from the abdomen down for the rest of his life. Now this brother can't run around with his kids. He wanted to play basketball, and now he can't even walk. Then while this brother is still in the hospital, the barrel of the gun is still smoking. This brother is already talking about forgiving him.
Flanked by his mom, Regina, and lawyer, Jaylen Walker sat up to speak with me about what happened and what happens next. I asked him if he remembered the altercation.
Yes, sir. Like I was shot for no reason.
Jalen's lawyer, Mark Cantor, would not let him speak about specific details. Police say Walker was shot by 65-year-old Larry Thomlison. Walker, a delivery driver for Amazon, pulled into the St. Charles Target on Mexico Road, parked in a handicapped space, and walked into the store. Thomlison took a photo of Walker's Amazon vehicle and waited for him to come out of the store. Authorities say Thomlison argued with Walker about the space and punched him. The two wrestled, and Walker says they ended up on the ground. Walker says he saw a gun on Thomlison and ran to his truck. Walker was shot in the back.
What's running through your mind now?
Me being able to walk again. Me being able to spend, as much time with my son.
Jaylen was a basketball star at Gateway STEM, then played at Missouri Baptist, but now doctors tell him he'll never walk again. Yet almost instantly, he told his family he forgives the man who shot him.
Do you still feel that way?
Yes, sir. Because I could have died right there. I do not want that hatred on my heart. I don't want to die saying I hate anyone.
While Jaylen is forgiving and dreaming of walking again, playing basketball, and running around with his son, his mom, Regina, and attorney explain the seriousness of the injury.
The bullet severed his spine. Where his spine should be, the bullet is there. So they can't remove the bullet.
We're certainly not going to forget what has occurred here and seek justice and compensation. And we intend to pursue all avenues of recovery so that he can take care of his family to the best of his ability.
Cantor has a workers' compensation suit for Walker plus a civil suit against the man who allegedly shot him. Jaylen Walker has a message for people worried about him.
Live like it's your last day. I didn't know I was going to get shot yesterday. I didn't know I was going to, be almost begging for my life.
Now this brother Jaylen Walker is already saying he forgives him, but this white dude Larry Thomlison never even tried to apologize, nor did he ever ask for any forgiveness. But this brother said he didn't want any hatred in his heart if he died. But he isn't the one with hatred. This white dude Larry Thomlison went out armed looking to start a fight. Demanding justice for yourself is self-love, not hatred. This guy Larry Thomlison probably wanted to be a cop. He went through the civilian police academy twice, and he had a concealed permit which you had to take classes for. So he knows he broke the law, but he did it anyway because he thinks he can. He tried to use the "I fear for my life" excuse, but he isn't a cop. And he was eventually charged with first-degree assault, which is attempted murder and armed criminal action.
Charges now filed in a shooting outside a Target store in St. Charles. 5 on Your Side investigative reporter Jacob Long is live in St. Charles County with the new information.
Well, Mike, yesterday when this whole thing unfolded, we knew that it did involve a dispute over a parking spot in that Target parking lot, and that it involved an Amazon Prime delivery driver who had been shot. Well, now we have the charging documents from court, and they tell a lot more information about what prosecutors believe unfolded. Now charged in the case is 65-year-old Larry Thomlison of St. Charles. He is facing armed criminal action and assault in the first degree, which in Missouri, that is the same thing as attempted murder. The shooting happened yesterday about noon at the Target on Mexico Road. An Amazon Prime delivery driver, 21-year-old Jaylen Walker of St. Louis, he was illegally parked in a handicap spot. Well, Lomar says, prosecuting attorney Tim Lomar, he says that apparently set Thomlison off in a fit of rage. Court documents say Thomlison took a picture of that delivery vehicle and then posted it on Facebook. And then he confronted Walker and ended up punching him in the face. Lomar says there is parking lot surveillance video showing that the driver, he tried to run away from the situation. Walker was trying to remove himself. And that is when Lomar says Thomlison intentionally shot him one time in the back.
This guy was somebody who should have known better. He's been through the St. Charles Citizens Police Academy not once but twice. He has his concealed carry permit. So he knows when he's authorized and when he's not authorized to discharge a weapon.
Thomlison is being held at the St. Charles County Jail on a $100,000 cash-only bond. Prosecutors say he is admitted to everything that happened and even called 911 after the shooting occurred. They say the evidence they have so far proves that this in no way was a self-defense sort of shooting. In the meantime, Walker and his family, they're at the hospital right now. Doctors have told them that they believe there's very limited possibility that he will ever walk again. It's one of many medical complications he's dealing with right now.
Now, this kind of thing happens so much and is so ingrained in American history that after he shot this brother, he called 911 thinking they were going to be on his side. But in this particular case, he was charged. Now, we'll see what happens and what kind of punishment he gets, if any. And even though this brother Jaylen Walker forgives him, there needs to be consequences when people harm us. This white dude, Larry Thomlison, decided to deputize himself, then shoot this brother, then turn around and claim self-defense to justify what he did. Now, this is the same state, Missouri, that since 1804, that punished black people if they even thought they were involved in an uprising, and punished people for disobeying their masters, and forced white citizens, whether they wanted to or not, to police black people. In 1825, this same state passed laws that forbid black people from even being able to testify against white people. Then, of course, that's the same state that had the Dred Scott decision in 1857 that said American citizenship is not meant for black people and that black people had no rights that a white man had to respect. And we're still fighting to be a part of that system instead of focusing on building our own system. But if we want to forgive anybody, we need to start forgiving ourselves. And if we want to fight anybody, we need to start fighting our enemies. At the end of the day, we are all we got. And until we get on code and understand that, 100 years from now, we'll be having the same conversation.
One side wants Kim Foxx to resign for dropping the charges. The other supports her decision. Both sides clashing in dueling protests downtown today. WGN's Tanya Francisco joining us now with more. Tanya.
It was quite the scene, you guys, this afternoon. The protest revisited the bitter divisions in the city when it comes to the black community and policing.
It was a tense, chaotic scene. As opponents and supporters of Cook County State's Attorney Kim Foxx squared off during a protest organized by the Fraternal Order of Police in front of Fox's downtown office.
We're upset that the prosecution in this county is not being forceful enough.
We want freedom, freedom, all you racist cops.
Counter-protesters set up across the street in Daly Plaza, calling the FOP hypocrites.
The FOP has protected killer cops. They have been some of the loudest opponents to criminal justice reform, not only on the local level, but on the state level.
At the heart of the debate, the decision to drop all charges against openly gay actor Jussie Smollett, who claimed back in January he was attacked by two men who shouted racist and homophobic slurs. During the investigation, it was revealed Foxx had contact with Smollett's family, leading her to recuse herself from the case, only to have her office drop all charges against Smollett. It's a decision that has ignited passions across the city.
You're only mad about the black guy getting off, right?
Well, what about
the gay black man? But
I'm mad that they dropped everything and they sealed the record. We have the right to know what happened.
The FOP claims Fox's office has been soft on criminals, which is counter to the work its members are doing.
We only have to go back a few weeks to know that somebody whose charges were reduced was out on the street and then shot an off-duty police officer. We have to make sure that justice is being followed all the time.
Community activists say Fox is holding to her promise of reforming the state's attorney's office, and they say the attacks against her are a racist political witch hunt.
Since her election, Kim has worked to release people who have been wrongly convicted by the same corrupt leadership of the Chicago Police Department that is now attacking her.
Disagree with her if you want, but take your damn hands off her. Change is going to come whether you want it or not.
The name of Laquan McDonald, the young man who was killed by police officer Jason Van Dyke, was invoked several times by those supporting Kim Foxx. The FOP maintains the protest was about accountability when people commit crimes. The one thing both sides agree on, guys, is they want justice with consistency.
While going through the incident with the officer, it was a very sort of surreal moment.
Maryland legal aid attorney Rashad James says he was doing his job March 6 at Harford County District Court in Bel Air. After successfully getting an expungement for a client who was not there, a sheriff's deputy stopped him in the courtroom and began questioning if he was really a lawyer or impersonating one.
After the hearing, that's when I encountered the officer who incorrectly called me by the name of the client. I stated that I was not the client, that I was in fact my client's attorney.
The deputy then asked for identification. James says he showed his driver's license.
That should have been the end of it. I assure you that if it had been me, I'd have just walked out.
The officer apparently wanted more verification since James didn't have his state bar card or business cards, which he is not required to carry. He had the officer call his supervisor.
If Mr. James were white, this would not have happened.
His attorneys have filed a complaint with the Harford County Sheriff.
It should have been enough when Mr. James appeared in court and the judge accepted on the record that he was the attorney and his client was absent. That should have been enough at that moment. It wasn't enough for this officer.
Sheriff Jeffrey Gaylor sent this statement to 11 News. The Harford County Sheriff's Office is aware of these accusations. As with all complaints, the complaint filed on behalf of Mr. James was promptly assigned to the Harford County Sheriff's Office Office of Professional Standards for a complete and thorough investigation. We take all complaints seriously. Since the incident, James says he now carries business cards with him.
At no time did I feel, I would say, in danger. I mean, I knew that regardless that I wasn't in the wrong.
Attorneys for James want a full investigation. The incident placed in the officer's personnel file, sensitivity and implicit bias training for officers, and an apology for Mr. James.
Some residents on the Eastern Shore are a bit unnerved about a free gift being handed out around town. Bags of birdseed are showing up at people's home with an alarming message.
Now, residents think a white supremacist group is responsible for the propaganda, and they're spreading a message of hate. And your side's Andy Fox is digging deeper into this.
Saturday night, a terrible thing happened in Northampton and Accomack counties. Someone in a red pickup truck, it is believed, threw racist messages out of the truck onto the lawns of residents who live here. It appears 10 different messages were placed in at least 135 bags along with birdseed to make them fly through the air more easily to the lawns of innocent people. This one reads, "Make America White Again." It landed on this woman's lawn who doesn't want to be identified, but she called us.
Somebody just throwing stuff out the car, so you don't really think that something like that would be in a Ziploc bag until I just picked it up and, read it. So when I read it, I'm like looking like where is this coming from? Who would do something like that?
Lavinia Ames found a bag outside her church, but you found a bag with the seeds.
Seeds right there by the step of the New Elm Church yesterday morning.
And then you came in here and
threw it in the trash can.
She threw it away, not really looking at it until we came along.
There it goes.
Oh! Northampton County Sheriff David Dowdy doesn't think it's a local person spreading hate.
We had one of our residents that saw a maroon colored Ford or pickup truck, extended cab, and with also a report that was given to Accomack. It was the same description of the vehicle, and the witnesses actually saw them throwing out the propaganda.
It appears the note designed to recruit people to the KKK. It has a hotline number and social media information.
To me, it just promotes division. amongst our citizens, and that's not who we are here on the shore. And it's very upsetting to me that someone would come through our county and distribute this type of material.
This social media post is a painful one, according to Elle Michelle.
And I had to read it 3 times. Am I really seeing this?
She's Issaquah School District's communications director, and Sunday night she learned about it. We've blurred the faces in this photo that shows a female student asking a male student to a school dance by saying, "If I was black, I'd be picking cotton, but instead I pick you."
It was awful. It was appalling. I think the most immediate thing on our minds was just saying, this is not okay. This is not okay. We do not condone racist speech.
Once the post was shared, comments came flooding in from students, parents, and the community, including Seahawks football player Doug Baldwin, who in a tweet stated, "I am saddened that this idea was thought of and executed without intervention. Racism is not just taught, it is encouraged through its tolerance. Let's take this as a reminder not only to be more empathetic, but to hold each other more accountable."
It's really sad. At worst, it's malicious and mean, and at best, it's ignorant. And either way, we need to change that.
Representative Lillian Ortiz Self is one of the sponsors of House Bill 1314, calling for ethnic studies in public schools, grades 7 through 12. In the bill, it states students need to be global citizens in a global society with an appreciation for the contributions of diverse cultures.
That's what we're hoping, is that ethnic studies will show all students not only about some forefathers, but all forefathers. Every one of us have a history of what brought us here.
In Issaquah, they do have curriculum about diversity
that talks about things like microaggressions, white privilege, intent versus impact.
But after this post, the district wants parents and students to know they are listening.
That element that we need to make sure that we are speaking to our families of color. What is your student experiencing? Do we need more curriculum?
School leaders want this moment to be a teaching one.
We just hope that we can all learn from it and grow from it.
Some Massachusetts high school students were shocked when they took a statewide assessment exam that asked them to write a journal entry from the perspective of a racist character. The question was in reference to the 2016 novel, The Underground Railroad, and it was part of the English Language Arts Massachusetts Comprehensive Assessment System exam, which is given to all sophomores in public schools. A vice president of the Teachers Association says students reported being deeply disturbed by the question, saying they felt like they were asked to basically write creative racial thoughts. The author of the book, Colson Whitehead, who won a Pulitzer Prize for his work, said he was appalled and disgusted by the assignment. After complaints, the question was pulled from the test by the Massachusetts Department of Elementary and Secondary Education. Students who already took the test will not have the question scored. The others will be told to skip it.
Hannah, from a young age, you'd been using self-tanning products, hadn't you? Yeah. But the look you achieved with that, you weren't happy with.
It wasn't even that I wasn't happy with it. It's just like the smells, and then whenever it's washing off, because I go to the gym as well, like it goes all patchy, and
it wasn't the look you were after.
It wasn't the look I was after.
So you then met Ben, and Ben, you'd been using sunbeds from about 15, so you were quite young.
Yeah, about 15 I started using sunbeds.
Why?
So I did. When I just always liked being tan, and we and my family went on holiday when we were younger. We used to compare to see who could get the darkest.
Right.
And so my friends started doing sunbeds as well, 15, so I started doing them, and then I met Hannah when I was about 17 when I met you.
Yeah,
right. 17.
I was 16.
And then Hannah started doing them as well.
So what is it with the colour? Why is it? I mean, we all go on holiday. I mean, if you come back and you haven't got a bit of a tan, you're a bit disappointed.
Yeah.
You know, what's the point of going away if people don't know you've been away? That sort of thing. But why this colour? Why so deep? Why so intense?
Just like gradually built it up, and I think I feel better with a tan, basically. I think you look better in clothes and stuff.
Just sort of gradually got there.
Yeah.
I actually feel like right now we're actually quite toned down. We have been so much darker.
You have been
we have
darker
been
than you are
darker.
now.
We've been so much darker.
I was thinking when you
Like
sat
a
down, I
Ron
thought
Hall.
you're looking very pale. So this is all well and good. I mean, you have the, as you say, you've got the messy tanning products, and then you try the sunbeds.
Yeah.
And then there's the injections. So this was your brother, wasn't it?
Yeah, my brother.
So explain how this happened.
He just came in one day and he was a completely different colour, and we were like, what actually happened? And he was like, it was tannin injections, and then obviously Ben had to try them.
I know, I seen him being so dark, and I was like, flip, I want to
It's just,
try
it
them.
was
So
mad.
I started trying them, and then it just worked straight away for me, and then
like a year or two later before I tried them.
And a year or two, and you didn't try them at first because you were a bit anxious about it?
Injecting something
Injecting something into your body, understandably so. The first time you tried it, you did have quite a reaction to it.
It made me feel quite sick. For a few days, and then it would just sort of go away.
You had another bad reaction.
Yeah, I got a tan injection online, so I did, and it gave me an abscess, so I did in my stomach, and I had to get, I had to go to the hospital and was on antibiotics. I had to do a course of antibiotics.
What did the doctor
to get rid of it. They found out it was like a bacterial infection, and they said it was something that was in the tan and not like a dirty needle or something that I've used. But they found out it was in the product I bought. But I just love being tan, so.
So you'll continue to do anything to achieve this look?
We would just do some bits like 2 to 3 times a week. 15 minutes I would do. Ben would do like a lot less because he would burn.
I would burn my face would go red, so it would.
It's nothing really.
2 people had a throwdown at a buffet over crab legs?
Yeah, a Huntsville police officer was eating at the restaurant and witnessed the whole thing. He says diners were waiting in line for 10 minutes for those crab legs. Then they lost their tempers when the food came out. The officer said Chiquita Jenkins and John Chapman were using service tongs like fencing swords.
And Jenkins was beating Chapman. You can see a Band-Aid on his forehead in the mugshot. Jenkins is charged with assault, Chapman charged with disorderly conduct.
As Malcolm X said, by any means necessary.
At this point, I question the whole purpose of the Black Panther Party. In my thinking, they were necessary. It was a shock treatment for white America to see black men running around with guns, just like black men and saw white men running around with guns. Yeah, that was a shock treatment. It was good in that extent, but it got a lot of black people hurt. My recruitment by the FBI was very efficient, very simple, really. I'd stolen a car and went joyriding over the state limit, and they had a potential case against me, and I was looking for an opportunity to work it off. And a couple of months later, that opportunity came when FBI agent Roy Mitchell asked me to go down to the local office of the Black Panther Party and try to gain membership. We tried to develop negative information to discredit him, just like we did everybody else. We, meaning the FBI, I tried to come up with signs of him doing drugs or something, and never could. He was clean. He was dedicated. I've had private conversations with him. We got along pretty well.
2 weeks later, a gun battle on Chicago's South Side further escalated tensions. A former Panther and 2 policemen were killed. The deaths provoked a response from informant William O'Neill's FBI contact.
Mitchell became more specific during that time. He wanted to know the locations of weapons caches. He wanted to know if we had explosives. He needed to know who was staying at what locations, who spent the night where. His information didn't change so much as he requested more detail, and I knew why. The shootout on the South Side had pretty much laid the foundation within the party, within the Black Panthers. We knew that the police would react some type of way.
Expecting police action, the Black Panthers had fortified their office. FBI informant O'Neill was now head of Panther security in Chicago.
And I remember walking out of the office and looking through a little clearing over on the next block, which was right in front of the Monroe Street address, and seeing a lot of police cars over there. And at that time, Bobby Rush came to the office. He had just come from over there, or maybe the coroner's office. In any case, we walked back over there, and we both were speechless. We just walked through the house and saw what had taken place and where he died, and it was shocking. And then I just began to realize that the information that I supplied leading up to that moment had facilitated that raid. I knew that indirectly I had contributed, and I felt it, and I felt bad about it. And then I got mad. You know, I had, and then I had to conceal those feelings, which made it worse. I couldn't say anything. I just had to continue to play the role.
FBI headquarters authorized payment of a $300 bonus to informant William O'Neill for, quote, uniquely valuable services which he rendered over the past several months, unquote.
Standing right here is a guy who looks like Snoop Dogg. Damn. But he ain't Snoop Dogg. Well, you do look.
I get that all the time.
What's your name, man? You new and upcoming, but you're at this summit. What's your name? Where you from?
My name Nipsey Hussle. I'm from LA, Slauson and Crenshaw area, you know.
Okay, well, Nipsey Hussle, that's named after Nipsey Russell, the comedian.
Correct, yes.
So talk a little bit about yourself, man. What brings you up here, up and coming, and, you know, how come you're not blinging and having all kind of crazy diamonds and all that? I guess you're here to get your money right, huh?
All the time. I mean, you know, all that is cool for the image and all that, but all them is liabilities, you feel me? I'd rather invest in some real estate, you know what I'm saying?
Wait, can you repeat that again, man? You're up and coming artist. What did you say you want to do?
I say invest in some assets as opposed to trick off my money on some liabilities like diamonds. You know what I'm saying? Cars that lose value as soon as you drive them off the lot.
So you're trying to get land.
Exactly, homie. A real asset. Take care of my peoples, cause you know it look good, but at the end of the day, you losing value, homie. It ain't appreciating. It's depreciating. It's losing value.
What do you think? Why do you think it's so hard for people to get that message? You know, I mean, one half you get guys that say they got to impress the females. Female ain't trying to talk to you unless you blinged out. On the other hand, you got other people feel like they got to show off to the homies and impress them with their riches. I mean, what do you think is how do we get that out of that mindset?
I mean, I feel like that's insecurity. Material things ain't nothing, you feel me? At the end of the day, it's who you is, you know? You wasn't born with it, you gonna die without it. So if you feel you need some diamonds or some jewelry to get at a female, it's because you feel you lack something within yourself, you know what I mean? So all that, as far as that angle, it's like I feel that's insecurity.